Hi, me again. I thought I'd film my trip back to the UK from Malaga during the Covid crisis to see how people were behaving about face masks. I did this trip in early July, and I'm filming this second trip on the 5th of August 2020. Arriving at the airport, you can see that the booking areas are practically empty. There are very few flights running, and once through security, which I wasn't allowed to film, the departure areas are very quiet. The automatic passport machines were closed and we had to queue to have our passports checked. Only two gates were being used. Everyone was wearing their mask because they wouldn't be allowed on the flight without one. And obviously, the cabin crew also were equipped with their masks. Obviously, as we got on the plane, it was pretty much business as usual. Masks obviously had to be worn, and the staff were not serving hot drinks or hot food, but cold fare was available. As usual, I brought my own sandwiches and I just had to buy a bottle of water because obviously with the security, with the bombers about, we're not allowed to take our own water in with us. We have to buy it either at the airport or on the plane. A bit pricey, but well, what can you do? That's the modern world we live in, I'm afraid. As we roll down the runway and take off, I was able to ruminate on a number of things like, I'm leaving my wife behind, who's a member of a vulnerable group, and I'm not going to be able to get back to Spain until September. But looking out of the window, we see Torremolinos and Fuengirola rolling by, and we see the blue skies, and you think, do I really want to keep going backwards and forwards to England, or do I really want to retire and stay in Spain? Well, I need the money, basically. But even though I hold a private pilot's license, I still marvel at the fact that tons of aircraft and humanity can be held in the sky just by this stuff that we just take for granted. This air, which seems to be so insubstantial, can actually hold that aircraft in the sky just because the air pressure above the wing is lower than the air pressure below the wing. It's quite a fantastic concept when you think about it. On the approach to Gatwick, I was wondering what precautions there would be when we landed. 10 days earlier, when I got to Malaga on the way out, our temperature was taken automatically by one of those overhead machine things. I didn't even know it was being done, to be honest with you. And of course, we had to show our health form stating where we would be staying. This did delay our passage through the departure area, but not significantly. It was noticeable as we crossed over the long stay car parks, the South Terminal long stay car parks, that they were practically empty. In fact, that large parts of them were completely deserted. Bearing in mind that this is holiday time normally, school holidays and all that, middle of August, this is phenomenal. Those car parks are normally absolutely chock-a-block full. And as we landed, of course, we could see many aircraft parked at the terminal gates, but nothing was moving. No aircraft were queuing up to take off. Most extraordinary thing at this time of year. Once inside the terminal, we found that to be almost deserted. These pictures are from that long walk that you have to take from the aircraft gate to the passport control, which also was pretty much deserted. Only four of the automatic passport machines were open, and there were several customs people on duty, but hardly any passengers to deal with. Baggage carousels were also empty, just waiting for the bags from our flight. The shuttle to the North Terminal was similarly all but empty, only 4 people aboard, including myself. The ticket barrier and the ticket hall at the station was also pretty much deserted, apart from a couple of staff, and the platforms on the railway station were the emptiest that I've ever seen, and the trains were also very empty. By and large, the people that were using the trains were wearing their masks, although it hardly seemed worthwhile considering that there were only half a dozen people in the entire carriage. But it's the law, and that's what you have to do. And myself following the quarantine rules, of course, if I got caught without a mask on, then I would be. Having enjoyed a reasonably empty train until we got to Shoreham, Unfortunately, a gang of youngsters got on board. I'm sure they were very pleasant people underneath it all, but they were talking about their methadone and who was having sex with whom, and one of them was eating a meat sandwich of some sort. Half the filling fell out, and he just kicked it underneath the seat, saying, "Oh, look, I can feed the rats." Not much consideration for other people, and of course they were laughing and joking and wandering up and down and not wearing any masks. So you have to wonder, why on earth am I bothering to follow all these rules when you've got idiots like that on the trains? The trains themselves, of course, were not as clean as the airplanes are, which is understandable, I suppose, but it makes you wonder just how healthy it is to travel on these trains, which is why it's very, very useful, I think, if you're going to travel on any sort of public transport, to take a lot of the hand wash gel with you to use at regular intervals, and as far as possible avoid touching anything that you can't clean, and don't touch your mouth and your face. My wife lives permanently in Spain for her health, and it's a lovely, beautiful country with lovely people and great weather. But I'm never sorry to be back in this beautiful country of ours, escape from the heat, see the countryside. I love it here. So now I'm in isolation for 14 days after travelling with no control, no checks, from Gatwick to Littlehampton. I'm worried about our economy. I'm worried about my vulnerable wife left alone in Spain until September. And I'm worried that no one seems to have a real plan about how this will end. They just seem to be relying on Israel or Oxford University to come up with a cure before Christmas. As for our family, Christmas is not being planned for. See ya.